For whoever governs the mind in the morning determines fate by nightfall. Marcus knew that. He ruled not with the sword, but with thought. And each morning, within silence, he began a small war. A war between the man on the throne and the man within. He spoke to no one in the mornings. Not to servants, not to soldiers, not to counselors. He spoke only to his own mind. He conversed with it. It was his mentor. In his heart, he held a court, judging each emotion, calling forth fear, pride, and anger. Which of you will rule me today? And silence answered. To Marcus, silence was not emptiness. It was a mirror. In that mirror, every morning, he saw himself anew and rebuilt who he was. Yesterday's mistakes were today's teachers. Every emotion he had felt before became a lesson. If he was angry yesterday, he observed it today. If he was proud yesterday, he sought humility today. For to him, mental training was not about being flawless, but about noticing every flaw and drawing strength from it. Each morning, he cleansed his mind like a mirror, brushing thoughts, sweeping emotions, until no dust remained. For he knew, a dirty mind cannot begin a clean day. Even if it does, it will not bear fruit. And cleansing began with silence. Silence itself was a form of purification. Today, we wake up and reach for our phones, as if it were a vital need, the first duty of morning. He, however, reached for his mind. That was the difference. A difference of a lifetime. Through this, Marcus held dominion over his inner world. For to control the outer world, one must first silence the inner one. Once the inner world falls quiet, the outer world naturally comes under control. Marcus once wrote, "Your first thought in the morning shapes you. If that thought is not wise, your entire day flows in the wrong direction." As he said, the first thought that enters the mind draws the map of the day. If we begin our mornings with unwise thoughts, the day is lost. We, like Marcus, must begin in silence and listen to our inner voice. Try it tomorrow. When you wake, do nothing for 1 minute. Just breathe, think, and write this sentence in the comments. Today, I will govern my mind. And repeat it within yourself. For the first awareness of the morning can save the entire day. A day that begins in silence is never wasted. The first battle of the day is not outside you, but within. And whoever wins that battle is no longer a slave of the day, but its master. If you wish to win your inner war, subscribe and declare it. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius did not merely awaken his mind. He stood guard over his emotions. To him, every morning presented two doors. The one you walk through determines your day. One open to awareness, the other to anger. And which door you choose, that is your decision and your consequence. One morning, as he walked through the palace gardens, his advisor approached him with news. A rebellion had erupted on the northern border. A group of soldiers had dared to tarnish his name. For an emperor, that was more than an insult. It was betrayal. Yet Marcus said nothing. He turned his gaze to the sky, drew a deep breath, and murmured, "If I react, I become their slave." The first reaction is never truly yours. That was his second training. When emotion calls, do not answer at once. For every emotion is an invitation, but not every invitation is noble. Anger calls you to inner war. Fear calls you to surrender. Pride calls you to blindness, but awareness calls you to freedom. Marcus knew. The purpose of emotion is not to rule you, but to inform you. So when he grew angry, he asked why. When he felt fear, he asked, "What am I trying to protect?" Questions are armor. They pierce through impulses. And mental vigilance begins with these questions. Today, we expel our anger outward, shouting, typing, reacting. But every reaction weakens inner strength. For Marcus, protection lay not in expression, but in silence. Silence was his armor, uniquely his own. He would forge his thoughts within, before releasing them. That way, when they emerged, they struck precisely as intended, like a warrior sharpening his sword before battle. He once wrote, "No emotion is strong enough to rule you, if you are strong enough to observe it." Observation was his antidote to emotion. A moment of awareness could prevent a lifetime of damage. That's why he never spoke during his morning walks. He simply listened to the rhythm of his heart, for that rhythm was the mirror of the mind. In our modern world, we act as if every emotion must be lived out. But Marcus said, "Feel every emotion, but host none of them." That is the essence of emotional vigilance. Observe, understand, release. Emotions are guests. You are the host. And a wise host chooses which guests to let in. Try this today. When someone angees you, do not respond. Simply ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Even if no answer comes, awareness will. And awareness means freedom. Be the master of your emotions. For when you command your anger, no storm can shake you. Marcus Aurelius' third morning exercise was to cleanse his mind. But this was not meditation or prayer. It was a discipline. He viewed his mind each morning as a battlefield, filled with shouts, echoes, and the silent whispers of the past. Worries, regrets, and lingering emotions hovered like smoke over that field. And Marcus's first duty was to clear the air, to disperse that smoke before the day began. If you wish to silence a thought, he said, do not fight it, simply observe it. In the silence of dawn, the emperor would take his pen and write 3 questions. Does this thought serve me? Is this thought real or born from fear? Does holding on make me stronger or does letting go? Every morning, the answers to these questions reshaped his mind. For Marcus, cleansing began not outside, but within. In his chamber, there were no gold trinkets, only simple parchments, filled with the notes of his mental hygiene. Today, we never start the day without washing our bodies. We want to look clean, but we begin every day without washing our thoughts. We care more for appearances than for clarity of mind. We judge others by how they dress, not how they think. Yet Marcus understood long ago, a pure day cannot rise from a polluted mind. He had mastered the art of cleaning his inner world before facing the outer one. He wrote, "The mind is like a house. If not swept each morning, the dust will blind you." Our dust today is made of notifications. A message, a headline, a comment. Each one leaves a new layer on the mind. And when those layers build up, clarity fades. Marcus's method was simple. He spent the first 15 minutes of every morning washing in silence. He spoke to no one, issued no commands, only watched his thoughts, discarding the ones he didn't need. If a thought frightened him, he wrote it down. If one provoked him, he silenced it. And what remained was a quiet mind, calm yet powerful. Modern humans do the opposite. We open our eyes and rush to the screen, polluting our minds with the noise of others. Marcus called this the inner invasion. For if you do not defend your mind, someone else will occupy it, and your thoughts will no longer be your own. Mental cleansing is not done through loneliness, but awareness. For Marcus, solitude was not a danger. It was medicine. In those silent hours of dawn, he listened to his own voice. By observing his thoughts, he restored order to his inner universe. Try it today. Give yourself 10 quiet minutes after waking. Touch nothing. Just repeat this phrase. When my mind is clear, the world becomes clear. The outer world is not chaotic. It only appears so because your inner world is messy. Once you restore that inner order, no confusion can rule over you again. To Marcus Aurelius, a person's greatest duty was to lead their own thoughts, to command them as a general commands his army. Before ruling his empire, a man must first rule his mind, for order always begins within. Only after mastering the inner world can one bring order to the outer. A general cannot lead his army, Marcus said, if he does not know the direction of his own thoughts. Each morning, he opened his mind like a battle map. Good thoughts on the left, destructive ones on the right. The good were silent but steady. The bad were loud but weak. He would observe them like a commander. Which thought will give the orders today? That moment of awareness was crucial. For to Marcus, every thought was a soldier, some loyal, some treacherous. But above them all stood one commander, consciousness. That consciousness was his sharpest sword. He once wrote, "The moment the mind obeys its thoughts, a man becomes his own slave." In the palace, thousands of voices surrounded him. Advisors spoke, soldiers waited, citizens prayed. Yet the loudest voice to Marcus was the whisper of his own mind. That's why he often retreated into silence and asked, "Is this thought mine or someone else's echo?" That question was the key to mental freedom. For most people do not own their thoughts. They inherit them from family, society, and fear. Marcus knew this, and each morning he put his thoughts on trial. If a thought diminished him, he ignored it. If it frightened him, he examined it. If it uplifted him, he strengthened it. This was how he disciplined his mind, like an unbreakable army. And one who commands such an army possesses an unshakable will. Today, we do not lead our thoughts, we react to them. A belief appears, and we accept it instantly. A fear rises, and we defend ourselves without question. But Marcus never accepted a thought without testing it first. His method was simple. 3 mental tests. Does this thought rest on truth? Does it empower me or weaken me? If it weakens me, why do I still hold on to it? These were his mental weapons, and they never failed him. For Marcus, mastering thoughts was the same as mastering fate. An empire collapses through poor decisions. A human collapses through poor thinking. But the one who can align his thoughts fears no storm, no chaos, no defeat. Even today, this practice remains vital. The mind is a battlefield. Without discipline, awareness, and vigilance, it will be conquered. Marcus practiced this ritual for 19 years, and that awareness alone kept Rome standing. Today, be the commander of your mind. When a thought arises, do not obey it. Pause, breathe, and ask. Observe before reacting. For every unexamined thought strengthens the voice that rules you and weakens the one within. He who cannot command his thoughts cannot command his destiny. Marcus Aurelius, lead your mind, because you are the commander, not the soldier. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius listened to silence before he spoke. Even silence can teach a man much, and he knew this well. When the outer world grew quiet, the inner world began to speak. For him, speaking was not a reflex, it was a choice. He trained not his tongue, but his mind. And the first rule of that training was simple. Think before you speak, and be silent before you think. To Marcus, every word was a debt. And before paying that debt, he would always calculate its value. If he spoke without that calculation, the cost could become unbearable. That was his approach to life. Weigh each word 3 times before you speak it, he told himself. If it still holds value, speak. If not, keep it. It belongs to you. One morning, one of his advisors rushed to him in panic. He had discovered a flaw in the war strategy. "Majesty," he cried out, "this command will bring disaster." Marcus stopped, looked at him, and said nothing. After a few seconds, he simply replied, "Disaster is the fate of those who speak in haste." He knew every act done in haste ends in loss. Those who rush are destined to fail, and he believed the same rule applied to life itself. This was his discipline of silence, to place silence before speech, because he knew Those few seconds before speaking often save an entire life. Today, we speak fast but think slow. In Marcus's time, people spoke little but thought deeply. In ours, the opposite is true. We speak endlessly but say nothing, and that is why noise grows while wisdom fades. Marcus called this mental waste. Every word drains the mind's energy. A man who speaks too much ends the day exhausted. A warrior unaware he's been fighting himself. But one who stays silent conserves power, deepens observation, and sharpens awareness. If you try to glorify yourself with a word, he wrote, you can also destroy yourself with a word. So each morning, Marcus made himself a promise. Today, I will speak only what is useful. A simple yet revolutionary exercise, because speaking less teaches you to think more, and deep thinking gives birth to wisdom. For a Stoic, silence was not escape, it was preparation. Like the moment of breath before a battle, silence was the birthplace of thought. That's why Marcus used silence not as a refuge, but as a weapon. Today, most people mistake silence for weakness. But silence is control itself. When you are silent, you hear your own mind, and a man who hears his own thoughts can no longer be enslaved by others. Marcus put it this way: when a voice provokes you, do not respond, for the one who stays silent turns the battlefield in his favor. True wisdom lies not in expressing every thought, but in knowing which ones deserve to stay unspoken. For some thoughts are meant to remain, and others to be released. Marcus knew the difference, and that is why he ruled as much through silence as through speech. Today, when someone criticizes you, wait 5 seconds before defending yourself. In those 5 seconds, your thoughts will rearrange, and you might realize you don't need to defend yourself. Truth already stands beside you. Silence will defend you, for silence is never misunderstood. Marcus Aurelius. Patience, to Marcus Aurelius, was not just a virtue, it was a mental muscle. And like all muscles, it grew through resistance. Every irritation, every delay, every obstacle was his training ground. Each one made that muscle stronger. He once wrote, "The gods did not give me an easy path, but they gave me strong legs to walk it." Marcus never wished for an easier life. He wished for a stronger mind, because ease dulls the spirit, while struggle sharpens it. A life too comfortable never brings true fulfillment. Self-realization requires difficulty, and every hardship grows patience. He saw patience as a form of weightlifting for the soul. Each moment of frustration was a barbell for the mind, and every time he lifted it, his will grew stronger. For him, patience was not passive waiting, it was active dominion. When an event angered him, he refused to react. That was true power, the ability to seize the reins of emotion. And the one who holds those reins no longer drives through chaos, he drives his own destiny. Marcus said, "Patience is the only way to conquer time." Even on the throne of Rome, he practiced it daily. He never rushed to open petitions, never gave quick orders. He knew haste invites error. Silence and patience nurture truth. One day, a general brought news of a great uprising. The soldiers were restless. Everyone demanded an order. Marcus looked out the window and said softly, "When a decision is made in haste, destiny laughs." That day, the fate of thousands changed because of a single moment of patience. He had understood the sovereignty of restraint. Today, we justify our impatience. We crave instant results, replies, approval, success. But Marcus taught, do not fight the flow of time. Learn to walk with it. Patience turns time from enemy into ally. Modern man fears waiting because waiting brings silence, and silence forces you to face yourself. But for Marcus, that was exactly where growth began. He saw patience not as punishment, but as a teacher. Every delay, every postponement, every setback was a lesson in self-mastery. Patience made him strong in battle. An impulsive commander would lose thousands. Marcus waited, thought, observed, and that patience saved Rome. Patience is the endurance test of the mind. With every trial, the muscle grows. And one day you realize it was never the event that angered you, but the meaning you gave it. When something doesn't go your way today, don't react. Breathe. Wait. Watch. For patience is not mere endurance. It is the foundation of wisdom. Marcus said, "Time is not against you. It is with you. Just don't mistake it for your enemy." Patience is the first rehearsal for mental sovereignty. For the patient man is no longer a slave to events, but their master. Patience begins where anger ends. Marcus Aurelius. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius looked into a mirror, but not to see his face. He looked to see his mind. His mirror was not made of glass, but of awareness. And every morning he asked himself, "Who will I meet inside my mind today?" For the greatest battle of man is never outside. It is within. Each morning, two voices awaited him. One fearful and full of excuses, the other quiet and resolute. The day's fate depended on which one he listened to. Marcus observed his mind. Will anger visit me today? Will pride test me again? These were his morning drills, his mental discipline. He who does not observe himself cannot rule himself. To him, every unobserved thought was a chain, and those chains ruled men without their knowing. So every morning, he met them face to face. Is this thought mine or my fears? For to meet a thought with anger feeds it, but to observe it weakens it. Today, we look at everyone except ourselves. We stare at the world and forget our own depths. Marcus's power was the opposite. By observing his inner world each morning, he protected his mind from the world outside. He who knows himself fears no one. Even when criticized, he asked, "Did that strike me, or only my ego?" That distinction was freedom. Self-observation was painful, for the mirror revealed imperfections too. But Marcus knew, seeing your flaws does not diminish you. Denying them does. His secret was not addition, but subtraction. To remove fear, pride, haste, and anger. As the mind's weight lessened, awareness grew. Today, be silent for 1 minute. Turn off your phone and ask yourself, do I command my mind, or does it command me? The answer may hurt, but it will free you. Be honest. A man's deepest freedom lies in his ability to observe his own thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Learn to look at yourself from the outside. Thoughts come and go, but you are the silent watcher behind them. And that watcher is invincible. Marcus Aurelius began every morning in silence, but it was no ordinary silence. He used those first minutes of dawn to disconnect from the world. Before the sun rose, he sat alone, listening only to his mind. To him, the mind was a house, and every morning it needed to be cleaned. For each day, dust would settle, the opinions of others, anger, worries. So Marcus swept his inner house each morning. Build yourself an inner room. When the noise rises, retreat there. And in that silence, remember the order of the universe. That inner room was not a refuge, but a laboratory. There, he examined his emotions without judgment, approaching each with balance. Is this fear mine or someone else's echo? That was his clarity training. Marcus knew that a mind that cannot detach from noise can never govern its own thoughts. So every morning he created a small sanctuary of silence, a candle, a table, a parchment. And in that moment, he was no emperor, only a thinking man. Today, our walls are not made of stone, but of screens. Before we even open our eyes, the voices of others invade our minds. Marcus's discipline was the opposite, to silence the world before entering it. Your first thought in the morning decides the course of your day. That is why he gave his first 10 minutes to quiet. And in that silence, he reminded himself, "Today I will meet impatient, angry people, but I will remain true not to their nature, but to my own." That sentence was his morning armor. He could not silence the world, but he could master its echo within. And that made him the calmest warrior in history. The mind is like a lake. It clears only when it is still. Marcus's mind was still. Every thought fell like a leaf upon water, and he simply watched the ripples fade, never chasing them. Tomorrow morning, give yourself 5 minutes of silence. Do not open your phone. Open yourself. Write on paper. What is in my mind right now? This small ritual will build your own inner room, because silence is not a luxury. It is mental hygiene. And remember, when you withdraw from the world, you learn to rule it better. Marcus Aurelius. For Marcus Aurelius, balance was not a result. It was a discipline, a victory to be earned anew each day, because the soul, by its nature, is unstable. One thought can lift you. One word can break you. Marcus realized this truth. No storm can touch the man who has mastered his balance. Inner balance must not bend with the winds of the outer world. Even on the throne, he sometimes felt like a statue of sand. Betrayal, war, loss, each one was a wave. Yet in the center of those waves, there was a core, silence. Silence was the anchor that kept him steady, the root that prevented collapse. No matter how strong the wind blows, a tree with deep roots will not fall. That root was his mental center. Every morning, Marcus strengthened it with breath, silence, and observation. "I cannot control what happens," he said, "but I can control the echo it leaves within me." That awareness, that was his invincibility. Life, he believed, was divided in two. The things you can control, the things you cannot. The wise man spends his energy only on the first. One day, a close friend betrayed you. Everyone expected punishment, but Marcus simply said, "Let him go," because he was a man of balance, not vengeance. He ruled with calm justice and silent strength. His composure made him unlike any other ruler. Protect your inner sea. Even when the waves crash, there is stillness in the depths. Modern man's mistake is letting every external event enter his inner world. A comment, a look, a failure, all become earthquakes. But the wise know, leave events where they happen and move on. Marcus's discipline was simple. Do not react, observe. Reaction makes you a slave to the event. Observation makes you its master. When you react, you step into the storm. When you observe, you stand outside it, untouched. Every morning, he asked himself, "What wave will try to shake me today?" Then he breathed deeply, and the waves changed direction. For Marcus, balance did not mean a life without storms. It meant standing firm within them. Silence was his harbor, awareness his compass, and breath his sail. When something shakes you, ask, "Is it the event that disturbs me, or my thought about it?" If the answer is thought, you are free. Do not control what happens. Control the meaning you give it. Marcus Aurelius. That is true balance. To remain in the storm, yet rule it with calm. And when you reach that state, you stand where Marcus Aurelius once stood, an emperor at peace in the midst of war. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius opened his notebook and began to write. Not commands, not plans, just questions. For he believed that questions rule men more than answers ever could. Even an emperor must question himself before the day begins. If you do not discipline your mind, the day will discipline you. Here were the 10 questions he asked himself every morning. What could shake me today? Pride, anger, haste. Naming them was the first step to disarming them. A danger loses its power once it's recognized. With whom must I be patient today? Patience is armor. It protects you not from others, but from your own anger. What behavior would not suit me today? He renewed his character daily. A kingdom is temporary, but character endures. What can I truly control? He was not the ruler of the world, only of his mind. Which emotion must I train today? Fear and anger were not to be suppressed, but disciplined. Emotions are not enemies, they are teachers. Which thought no longer serves me? Does this thought expand me or diminish me? That was his daily mental detox. What good can I do without expecting reward? Do good, whether they see it or not. What silence must I protect today? One day of silence teaches more than 100 words. What outcome must I release? When failure came, he wrote, "This too is part of nature. Who do I want to be today?" His answer was always the same, just patient, aware. Ask yourself these 10 questions each morning and write the answers. Then return to this message, read it again, and compare. You will see the change. That was Marcus's secret, to train the mind's muscles for 10 minutes each morning, to ensure the mind never rusts, but is reborn daily. Every morning is a new birth, Marcus Aurelius, so start the same way. Don't open your phone, open yourself. Take a notebook and write on the first page. Today, I train my mind, and if you, too, wish to grow stronger each morning, subscribe and begin your own Stoic discipline. Farewell.